Shane's birthday.
I did see that. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Shane.
Alright.
Do not disturb is on, so I am do not disturb. Get this stream up. Hello, 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 hello.
Is this one working?
Yeah.
Alright, let me pull up the notes. Pull up the second window with the Facebook. Good morning, watchers.
Good morning, watchers. Do I look leaner? I've been watching what I've been eating for the last 2 days.
Yeah. Why am I not ripped after 2 days? That should be a. Is that on the topic list?
No, it should be.
Okay. All right. Let's rock and roll.
All right. How do you feel today, Josh? It's a little chilly in here.
I love this weather. I feel like I need to be a little bit more. Like, this is so pointed away from the camera.
Yeah, so impersonal.
Yes. I feel great. I love this weather. It's just so different being down in Florida, and you get some coolness. So I woke up this morning, looked out back when the sun came up. You got all the steam coming off the ponds, the pool.
Yeah.
All the little berms have like this little frost, layer of frost on top. All the roofs of the houses on the way to the gym. Is it roofs or roofs or roofs?
If you say roofs,
that's wrong.
I'm kicking you off the podcast.
Okay.
And it's your
roofs.
name on the introduction too.
But yeah, so there's a layer of frost, and then on the way in, I shared this with you, but this is pretty cool. I saw a bald eagle building a nest.
That's so cool.
At the top of one of the power poles back behind the gym, so keep an eye out for that.
Yeah.
So that was pretty cool. Yeah, I like it. It was a little brisk in the workout today, but I'm not going to complain because may the Lord have grace at that 5:30 group. I mean, goodness, no sun to kind of thaw you out, even the slightest.
Yeah. They were good this morning. They were tough with it. Because at first you go out and it's 5:34 after we do our stretching and we're going to start getting warm. And they're like, man, it is cold. And I'm just talking about the run that they're doing. They're like, can you stop? And
stop talking. Stop using all these words and let us just get going.
Yeah, but by the time they got going in the Metcon, so, it's 40 minutes later, everybody's feeling pretty good, feeling warm. And then at that point, it's actually pretty decent running weather as long as it wasn't combined with anything like box jumps. Or something like high impact. Oh,
right. Oh, wait. Yeah. The first run, for a split second, it feels a little bit, cold or chilly. But, you come back in, do your box jumps, your pull-ups, and head back out, and you don't even think about it.
Yeah.
This is interesting. So I think this would be an appropriate question for later. But, how does temperature affect, your workouts, whether they are indoors, outdoors, things like that.
Yeah.
So. While I write that question out,
okay.
How are you feeling?
I feel pretty good, man. I'm really sore. My legs are really sore. We did death by front squats on Monday, and so I'm feeling that. Just a quad burning, and I haven't been squatting a lot recently because of the back thing I've had going on, so it's nice to remember what sore legs feel like. Other than that, man, I'm just great. The cold weather, the first one, because I'll call this the first actual cold day out of the year. We've had some 50-degree days, maybe it's dipped to 49,
right?
Maybe the 60s, but we're in the 30s today, and it's so I'll call this the first actual cold day. There always adds a pep to my step.
Yeah.
It's just so brisk. I'm okay, I'm up,
yeah,
I'm alert.
You're awake.
Yeah, it's just different. It's like doing a new movement in the gym or going and doing something totally new with your schedule. It's just so new and different that I'm wow, this is. I feel really alert. But I feel good.
We call it the first cold snap.
First cold snap.
Do you,
You should see how that registered.
Did that register really loud? Probably blew some eardrums.
Yeah.
Did you ever heard that term? I don't know if that's just something I picked up from the South, the Southerners that I have married into.
I've heard cold snap. I haven't heard of the first cold snap.
Yeah, this is the first one. Can there be more than one?
I've heard
like Highlander, there could be only one.
I've heard.
Do you know that reference?
No.
Okay.
But I know Highlander, but I just haven't.
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry.
Go and watch it.
I was just gonna say there's I've heard of like the first. Something from like you'd hear in like Game of Thrones, like the first cold day, or the
first day of winter.
Or the first it's
no,
something
not
way
that.
more like
It's probably
medieval than that.
really cool sounding.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
So let's get some announcements.
Okay.
Current events.
Yes.
You are way better about the explanation of this. So the Twinkle in the Terrace.
Yeah.
I believe the gift giving ends on Saturday.
Ends
Is that
on
correct?
Saturday.
And
Yeah.
they have an in-person event where all the gifts are given out to all the foster families that this is actually to benefit for on the 19th.
Yes.
What other details do people need to know?
So we are, and I might have mentioned this last week on the show. I think I did because we started announcing it last week, and I remember I was like, because you said I'm really good at announcing it. I'm like, I got to get really good at announcing this because the first time I announced it, I was like, I didn't read up enough.
Right.
So I was just like, learn by my mistake. I need to learn what
Yes.
I'm talking about. So Twinkle in the Terrace, what do they need to know? We're partnering. Coach Emily reached out to somebody she knows that's in touch with West Florida Foster Care Services, so we're partnering with them. So you could call it like a toy drive or like a present drive or a gift drive. We do one of these every year just as our opportunity to kind of give back. We're partnering with them to help brighten up the holiday season for some foster families that might not have the ability to do that themselves. So get the kids some pretty cool gifts, nothing like extravagant like AirPods or an iPhone. If you want to donate those to me, I will take them because I just updated my iPhone and now it's acting up because I don't have the latest model, Apple. But anyway, donate some toys from, I don't know, you can get them at CVS or Walgreens or Walmart, like nothing crazy. And if you want to help out and give back, that's kind of how we do that. Like Josh said, that's going to end on Saturday. The actual event's 2 weeks from Saturday on the 19th from 6 to 8 p.m. In Temple Terrace. So if you have questions about that, reach out to us. That's at an actual place in Temple Terrace. I don't remember off the top of my head. That's in 2 weeks. We'll have 2 more podcasts before then, I can tell you. And I'm sure that if you listen to this after the fact and you want to bring gifts in after the 5th, it really shouldn't be an issue.
Yeah.
We'll find a way to.
So it's not only we can choose our own gifts, because I know we have some tucked back here behind my chair, but there's also an Amazon link that we've been sharing. We could probably put that in the show notes too.
Yeah.
So you can just go there if you prefer, like me, you're a hermit, you don't want to leave the bubble of your house or the gym, and just shop from the old Amazon link. Just click and it gets sent straight there.
Yeah, Adam Wright, I think most of our listeners know Adam. He told the class last Friday or something, that him and Melissa went and did it, and it was incredibly easy. Like you literally just go there, click what you want to get, and it's like that. Like
awesome.
You would purchase anything for yourself on Amazon. Like it's so easy. So if that isn't motivation from Adam Wright, I don't know what is.
That's right. Christmas class schedule. I think I know this one off the top of my head. We are closed the 24th and 25th, which is Thursday and Friday.
Yes.
Completely closed.
Mm-hmm.
And then Saturday, the 26th, we will have our normal 9 a.m. class. So we'll be back to normal.
I was going to say, coached by yours truly.
Yeah. Not me.
Yeah,
you.
me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
That's going to be 12 days of Christmas. I remember last time I announced it was going to be Filthy 50 for the Thanksgiving. It's going to be 12 days of Christmas, as we always do.
Yes.
This year. That's a fun one.
I always loved watching that one and to a certain degree, because when we're briefing it, it's like, okay, it goes like the song on the first day of Christmas, and then you go on the second day of Christmas, and it's like you do 1, and then you do 2, 1, and then you do 3, 2, 1.
Yeah.
And there's always the special few who will just go 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way to 12.
Yeah, they'll end in like 6 minutes.
Yeah, and meanwhile everyone else is still on the 4th day of Christmas and it's 30 minutes in.
Yeah.
So you're always doing number 1.
Always.
And then in all rounds except for the first one, you're doing 2 and 1. And then you subtract, you know what I mean? Like
yes.
3, 2, 1. And then finally the final round, which would be the 12th day of Christmas, your true love gave to you, yada yada, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Perfect.
That's how you would actually execute that workout to the tune of the song. Now, if you want to make up your own, like some people do, then that's fine. But just know that it's meant to be done to the tune.
Yeah. That workout is always, it always goes so well the first 11 rounds. You're like, I'm doing so good.
Yeah.
And then you hit the 1,200 meter run or row.
Yeah.
And
it's downhill from there.
Yeah.
It's like, we were talking about this the other day, the Filthy 50 is like, this isn't so bad until you get to the wall balls and burpees like at the end, and then it's,
yes.
It's terrible.
Awful.
Okay, so Christmas class schedule that. Any update on the Friendsgiving remix? I'm calling it the Friendsgiving remix now. Yeah. No, there is no update on that. We're in no different of a place than we were the last 6 times we've talked about this. So
that's frustrating.
yeah, I'd rather not talk about it anymore because there is something very appropriate to talk about. So today, when we're recording this, is December the 2nd, 2020. But by the time most people, I think, listen to this, unless they're listening to it live, I don't know that we have anybody on live right now, but that's okay. December the 3rd will be the 9-year anniversary of CFG.
Woo!
9 years.
Wow.
So this is interesting. Mandy and I were talking about this. So we will be entering our 10th year in business.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So we've completed 9, right? So we're entering our 10th year in operating.
It's so cool because, like, nine's great, right? Nine is awesome, but in my mind, I think, like, man, that's only one more to 10. And I know that for small businesses in general, small businesses that are gyms, to make it a decade in business, that's an incredible feat. Like, not to discount 9. Like, okay, Josh, awesome, you've done great with 9.
Let's hang it up.
But like a decade, almost. So you're entering your decade year, your 10th year as a small business. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
I have some questions for you. Did you have anything you wanted to say about the anniversary tomorrow?
So a couple of funny stories about it. Number one, last year on the 8th year, like I totally just didn't even think about it. Completely slipped my mind. It just never crossed my mind. And I remember in the middle of the day, my mom texted me, and she's like, "Hey Josh, just wanted to wish you a happy anniversary. You know, yada yada yada." And I was like, "Happy anniversary? Like Mandy and I's anniversary is in March, Mom. You know that."
Yeah.
She goes, "You know, it's the 8th anniversary of CFG." I was like, "Oh, it is. Thank you."
Wow.
Totally didn't even cross my mind. So this year, you know me, like I live by my Google Calendar, so I literally put it into my calendar to remember that this is the 9th year. Well, tomorrow will be the 9th year of operating.
Will you guys do anything special? Like will you have like celebratory like dinner or anything? Will you do anything differently like to celebrate that? Or?
No.
No, it's just another day.
Just another day, man. I did want to share a funny story though, because you were talking about, you know, gyms making it that, you know, having that kind of longevity and does it mean anything? And yeah, of course it does, but I shared this story. I think you've heard me tell it before. We, after we got done eating Thanksgiving dinner over at my mom and dad's house, we were just sitting around the table. Both of my brothers were there. You know, obviously Manny and the kids were there. Mom and dad were there. And we were just kind of talking and, you know, just reminiscing about things. And somehow we got to what it was like leaving my previous job and telling my bosses, "Hey, I'm going to leave. I'm going to go do this thing." And apparently my middle brother, Nicholas, had never heard this story, but when I told who was my GM, my general manager at the time, the big boss, I told him that I was going to be leaving, and he said, "Well, are you sure?" And I said, "Yes, sir." He goes, "Okay, well, just in case you didn't know, that the 3 businesses that are most likely to fail are bars, restaurants, and gyms." That's the last thing that he ever said to me, ever. And so, you know, Mandy was like, "Man, I wish there was a part of you that would, you know, like just give him a call or say something or you know, whatever." Like that. She was like, "Does that ever sit with you?" And it sits with me in the sense that I'll never forget it, and that it, I wouldn't say that it ever provided motivation to me, but yeah, there is like the human part of me that's like, well, you know.
It's spiteful a little.
Yeah, it's like, up yours, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, so whenever you say that, yeah, gyms to make it this long is a pretty cool thing. Yeah, that is definitely a memory that was forever burned into my head. I mean, it's not that I needed any more motivation than having a wife that was 7 months pregnant when I opened the gym. But, you know, I'd be lying if I didn't say that, or if I said that didn't play any sort of part in it. But
yeah, the only reason I stayed silent when you said that is because I was biting my tongue. It's like, you know, if we were off mic, this would be different.
Yeah.
But, no, I mean, good for him, man, to have that attitude, to have the guts to say something like that.
Yeah.
And good for you for proving him wrong.
Yeah, and I think the thing that was probably the most hurtful of it is this wasn't like just a guy who I saw, you know, once in a blue moon because he was so high up the food chain. I mean, not only did, you know, I see him pretty regularly in the 5 years that I worked for this company, but I had also known him since before I was a teenager. So I had known him at that point, when we had that conversation, I'd probably known him very well for a decade, you know, so to have that be kind of one of the last things was, you know, it was very solidifying that, like, I'm making the right choice. Like, this is the right move for me and my family.
The way I like to think about it, maybe this is just to make myself feel better, is like, that guy probably was upset you were leaving because of the relationship you guys had, or the job that you did with and for him, or both. And
that's a good way
his way of like
lashing out or something.
Yeah, instead of being nice and saying, "Oh, congratulations! Like, I've seen you grow up. You know, you've become such a strong, independent young man." He's like, "All right, well, you know, here are the statistics."
Statistically, you're gonna fail. Yeah. Yeah.
One of the questions I had for you was, so 9 years ago today, the day before CFG opened, what were you doing?
So when we found the building that we eventually moved into, like our original location. So for those members that are here today, where all they've known is like this beautiful place that, yes, has air conditioning, painted walls and bathrooms and showers and all this, there was a time where none of that except for one terrible bathroom existed. So when we first walked into this place, it was a travesty. I mean, it was an old, at one point it had been like a veterinary office, so it smelled really bad, like animals, and the back of it had been a screen printing shop and an auto mechanic shop and all these different things, so it was gross. We walked into it and I was like, we being Mandy and I was like, this is it, this is the place. And she looked at me, looked around, was like, no, it's not, and like walked out. And I was like, oh man, you know, we're in trouble. So eventually she did come around to it. You know, I would consider myself in my head like a visionary, like I could see, you know, down the road what things are going to look like. So to your question, the day before, if I remember correctly, what we were probably doing is still painting, folding all the shirts and making sure that like the papers were set out right, and you know, we had all these things ready to go, because in my head, little did I know, but in my head, the next day, being, you know, hey, we're open for business, I was going to get to the gym early, unlock the doors, and legit, I was sitting behind a desk like you are, like, eagerly anticipating the first person walking in at like 7:30, and like nobody walked in.
Wow.
And for a split second, I was like, uh-oh.
Yeah.
This might have been a mistake. Because like there was no like marketing or anything, you know. I mean, it was just very, very different. So yeah, that was my first like day before.
What did you do after that first day when, you know, you're eagerly awaiting, and this, we could talk about this for so long, but you were eagerly awaiting those people to show up, and then ultimately, how many people did, in case you didn't already say?
If I remember correctly, one person did show up on the first day. I'm trying to remember my memory is not like as good as, you know, Mandy's in terms of like timeline of events and the grand opening and everything. But we did have that first week. We did have a handful of people that came in and signed up and all that.
Cool.
But I quickly realized that like there was all these gaps in my day. So our class schedule today is not very different from what it was back then. So, maybe the first day I was just waiting for people to come in. I quickly, thankfully, realized that, okay, this gap in hours that I have, I can't just sit here and twiddle my thumbs.
Yeah.
I need to be out and meeting people and, finding groups on Facebook to interact with, getting out into the community. The tough part then for me was, we didn't live here when we first opened the gym. We lived like an hour south of here.
Okay.
So I would, get up, commute in, work all day, and then go back home. So I was trying to make the most of the time that I had when I was here, but not coaching to, I did have relationships with some people in the community. So trying to, talk to them, tell them who we are, what we do, why we do it, that kind of stuff. But man, if I had just sat there and just waited, we might still be waiting, or we probably wouldn't exist.
Right. I would probably pay a large sum. No, not a large sum. I would pay a sum to do one more workout there. Like grab everyone we have here now, right? All right, we're gonna go all do a class
in the middle of August.
Yeah, in the middle of August, we're all gonna go do a class there and just like do another workout. It's like that's when you're throwing the wall ball to a plywood wall. Remember
Yes.
the top of it, the pull-up rig. It was running around the building. Like that would be 3 rowers, right? And that was
No. We didn't have rowers
until
until the so I remember we were doing the open, and every year there was never any rowers, and you can kind of predict with a really pinpoint accuracy like what movements are going to show up, although this year probably not, but in the past, like you knew what movements were going to show up. You knew you couldn't count on, or you could count on running like not being in it, just because it's really hard to make that open and inclusive and judgeable and all those things. So, and then the other part why we counted on rowers not being a part of it for so long was they were, 1, hard to come by, 2, they were very pricey, and so a lot of affiliates just didn't have them. And so I remember banking on it being like, well, no, we're not ever going to run into that. And I will never forget the night that 14.4 came out. I had got done coaching the evening class, looked at my phone, and I had a message from Mandy, and it said something like, oh my gosh, what are you going to do? I just saw the workout. There's rowing at the beginning. And I was like, you're full of it. Like, they wouldn't do that. And she's like, no, you need to go check. I'm not lying. So I get online. Sure enough, it starts with the row. And I was like, all right, well, we don't have any, but I knew people who did, so I phoned a couple of other owners that I knew locally, and so this was I think it was like a Thursday night. Friday morning we had rowers.
Nice.
So we borrowed 3. Ironically, at that time, I had already placed, like that was a Thursday night when that came out. On that preceding Monday, I had placed our monster rogue order for the new facility, which had 5 rowers in it.
Right.
But they weren't going to be in until the following, like, Friday or something.
Yeah.
So the 3 that we had then weren't even ours. They were just people that lended them to us.
I love stories like that.
Yeah.
Hearing that of the old days.
Yeah, I mean, when we first opened, we didn't have rowers. Nobody knew what a women's 35-pound bar was. So we would have people that would drop in, and they'd be like, hey, where's your 35-pound women's bars? And I was like, shh, no, they don't know about these things. Like, don't say anything. But it was fine. And I think that provides a lot of perspective for me when people are like, oh, we don't have enough of this, or we don't have that. And it's like, well, but it's not about that. Like, you don't actually need all that. It's nice, but to get you to where you want to go, you don't have to have this piece of equipment.
Right.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Did you have anything else you wanted to add about the anniversary, or did you want to hop into listener questions?
No.
Would you like to thank the Academy?
Something like to thank. No, I would like to express some gratitude for sure. So obviously to my family to Mandy for really being okay with me saying I'm leaving a really nice corporate job that paid very, very well and had all these benefits, and you're pregnant, and I'm going to make this move. So thanks to her for that kind of support, because I mean, it was a big unknown. So, she doesn't play a active role, at all in the day-to-day operation of the gym. And it's like, it's never been her thing, but we talk about this quite often, that it's a weird dynamic, because I do know, working with a lot of gym owners, husbands and wives that work the gym together, and there have been periods of being a gym owner where I'm like, man, it would be really cool if we both, played a part in this thing. But I also see the other side, where you just, already as a business owner, you never turn off, ever. I'm always thinking about ways that we can do things better. So you already never turn that off, and so I can only imagine, if she was involved in the business too, that, I mean, we would never have a prayer of doing or talking about anything else. So it's actually a huge blessing that she's never been, at all involved in it.
Right.
Obviously my mom and dad for just believing in what it was when I told them what I wanted to do. My mom, actually, I shared this story at Thanksgiving. I guess my brothers had never heard this, but she actually told me when I was working the previous job before I opened the gym, I knew 3 years in, I hate what I'm doing. I do not want to do this. And I remember her coming to me one time and saying, you need to use what you went to school for your career. You should really think about opening a gym. And I'm like, you're full of it. I want nothing to do with that. So thank you, Mom, for knowing, as moms do, probably what you should, where your talents, your gifts lie. So that was kind of neat to reminisce on. And my brothers, did ask some good questions about that later on to follow up on. But so that was big. So to my family, to you guys, the staff that really play an integral part in not only the day-to-day operation for serving the people that we have that come here, but because of you doing that, it allows me the ability to continue to grow it on a bigger scale and focus on some higher level things that we want to do. Not just within the community, but, of course within the community, but just with the people that we interact with. So thank you. And then, of course, all the people that are currently or have been members of the gym, in the past. I have just an infinite amount of gratitude for them, because I do know what a big step it is to walk into a gym where you pretty much don't know anybody or anything. I've been in that position the first time I walked into a gym, and it was like, I don't know that this is for me. So, and even for people that are no longer with us, I'm eternally grateful for all the opportunities to learn and grow. Yeah. I think that
covers it all, man.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. All right, let's get into listener questions. So you're telling a lot of stories about the stories you told on Thanksgiving. How did your Thanksgiving go?
Awesome. I absolutely love Thanksgiving. Every year, I wonder how I can love that holiday so much. And then it's the day is here, and all the anticipation and the tradition, and this year was different, but even still, it's about that, but it's also just about everybody is so supremely focused that day on the task at hand. Whether it's the meal or it's the family time or the games or whatever, you hear a lot these days about just be present. And maybe that's why I love, Thanksgiving, and then Christmas is definitely my favorite, but everybody's just so present. You're not thinking about, hopefully you're not thinking about the things that went wrong the day before, the things that you have to do the next day. And even if it's for that time, of just a meal, when you're shoving food in your face, just being present, with the ones that you want to be present with, I think is super special. So it was awesome. Like I said, we got together at my mom and dad's house. You know, we ate, and then we went outside, played some games, got to have a catch with my dad and my brothers. We haven't thrown the baseball around in a long time. It was a very humbling experience, you know, being the oldest brother. You know, I'm used to being the strongest, the fastest, but I have definitely been surpassed in terms, and I knew this a long time ago, but it was really borne out, like when I'm watching them throw the ball versus me throw the ball. I mean, they can really like throw the ball hard, you know, and very well, and I'm like, man, after 15, 20, I'm like, the old shoulders, you know, getting tired, and no, but we had a great time, and you know, the kids are out there having fun. They love going to mom and dad's house, and then Mandy has always done this. You know, if we don't do Thanksgiving at our house because we love to have all the leftovers, she actually got up Friday and made a full spread for us as well. So I did have a little bit of work that I had to do Friday, but it wasn't, you know, anything too crazy. So I got to enjoy like a sit-down Thanksgiving meal 2 days in a row. So it was everything that I thought it would be, Mark.
That's awesome.
It was awesome.
Did you guys have leftovers on Saturday?
We still have leftovers.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Matter of fact, when I go home after this, I will probably get into more turkey and dressing and cranberry sauce and rolls and gravy, and I think we're out of squash casserole. We already finished all that. I finished off the pecan pie last night, so it was great.
Ooh.
That's probably what powered me through the workout.
How much pie did you eat over the weekend?
So I told you this story, but I think it's worth sharing. So after we had our meal, and we went outside, played, and had our fun, my mom said, okay, let's go inside, it's pie time. So she made three. She made two. We had three. Mandy brought her pecan pie, Mom made pumpkin pie, and then we had an apple pie as well. The kids and Mandy went over on Wednesday to make all the pies. So they did that. So come in and everyone's like, you know, getting their slice. What do you want? What do you want? And so the way that we do it is with apple pie, you get a scoop of vanilla ice cream. With pumpkin pie, you get the whipped cream on top. Pecan pie, it's just standard. You eat it how it is. And so she's, what do you want? And I was like, I want one of each. So I had a slice on my plate of apple pie with ice cream, a slice of pumpkin pie with whipped cream, and then a slice of pecan pie, all on a plate. And man, I think that might have sent me over the edge. That was like the knockout punch, but it was glorious.
Yeah, you showed me the picture of that.
Yeah.
I was like, woo, and like, you know, if you take a picture of it, it's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. That looked, yeah.
How was yours?
My Thanksgiving was good. We were at home. We just had, normally my dad's aunt and uncle, so my great aunt and uncle will come over, but with everything going on this year, they talked on the phone a week or two beforehand, and my dad was like, hey, like, we want you if you want to come, but if you don't feel safe, you don't have to. And Uncle John, like one of the nicest dudes you'll ever meet. He's like 83 years old. He's the guy who's 83 years old, and he just like hit his second hole-in-one ever.
Oh, that's right. You told me about that.
Yeah,
that's so wild.
So and he's just like, if you know him, he's just the nicest dude. So it's nice, like hearing that someone like that achieved that. But they were like, no, we're okay. Like, we're just gonna hang out. We don't want to risk anything. And we're like, we totally understand. That's fine. So, but my mom's parents came over. It was smaller than it has been in years past, but it was totally fine because that means more food for me. So I'm not complaining. So everybody came over. Emily came over. It was a good time. We ate a lot. Like as soon as we were done eating that dessert, we headed over to Emily's house and then ate a bunch there. Watched National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. Great movie.
That is a classic. Really good movie.
Yeah, so we watched that. Admittedly, I napped for like 15 minutes during that just because I'm so full of food. Had some dessert. And then I told you this, but kind of the same deal you had with Mandy on Friday is on Saturday, my grandma texted me and was like, hey, like tomorrow, she texted a group of us and was like, hey, tomorrow on Sunday, let's do turkey dinner at 3 p.m. And we're like, okay, yeah, we'll be there. And so we kind of just figured it was going to just be like, maybe she had leftover turkey or maybe she made a turkey because they're not like too difficult. So maybe she made a turkey.
That ain't my Granny's roll.
No. So we got there. Full spread, like
yes.
It wasn't quite ready. So like she was baking the turkey, and then like she had the mashed potatoes on the stove, and she had like another 2 or 3 things in the oven, and I'm like, she's not. Is she? She's not. And then I brought my computer, I was knocking some stuff out there, and then I look up and like the whole spread is just laid out. Everything. Stuffing, sweet potatoes, mashed potatoes. She does like a cranberry jello with like apples and pineapple in it, which I know I mentioned last week. I don't care for cranberry, but that was pretty good. Turkey, gravy, and then she had the pies and stuff. Oh my goodness. It was so good. And I was like, this is, like you said, it was everything I could have asked for. This is exactly what I wanted on Thanksgiving. Delicious.
Now, do you and Emily, do you go over to her family? Like, have you guys gotten to that point where it's like, because I remember when Mandy and I were dating, it was like, okay, we're going to do Thanksgiving here or Christmas here or something like that, like you alternate. Or you do like an AM Thanksgiving with the Z team and a PM Thanksgiving with the R team. Like, how does that...
So it actually works out really well because they will typically eat, Emily's family will typically eat in the evening time. So like 5:30, 6 o'clock.
Yeah.
And we eat at like 3. So it's like, there's not too much time in between. So like by the end of the day, I am feeling pretty putrid and disgusting. But that's what I want. Like we said last week, that's what we want out of Thanksgiving.
That's the litmus test.
Yeah, you deserve that at least once a year. And so it was perfect. So this is our 3rd Thanksgiving together. I hope I got that right, Emily. I think this is our 3rd Thanksgiving together.
You'll be reprimanded later.
Yeah, we'll always eat at my house and then head to her house and then eat there, and then normally I'll just like fall asleep watching a movie there and then come home, and as long as it's not like too late, like maybe pick at some leftovers out of my fridge. If we ate at the same time, I'm gonna be, and she knows this, I'm gonna be honest, it's my house. I'm picking out of my house, and I'm passing out, and then
I bet that makes Pam so proud. Like, I'm sure that I can say that.
Yeah, so Emily, she knows that. I told her, I'm like, listen.
Now, like, so I remember Mandy and I used to have these discussions. It's like, well, our family, like, Thanksgiving is a big deal to this family, or Christmas is a really big deal to this family. Like, is Thanksgiving like the big deal to the Zachowitz household? And so that's why, or is it like, this is the way, and you're kind of setting the standard here?
You know what?
Which is a trap, by the way, but go ahead.
Yeah, Mark. It is a trap. It's so weird because, like...
You didn't know this was going to be a therapy session on this podcast.
No, but I'm glad because it's making me think, like, holidays are not a big deal to our family. Like, we like Christmas and we celebrate Christmas and Easter because of, the meaning behind it and everything you were mentioning last week. Like, there's a greater meaning and we get together, but, like, honestly, if it were up to, I think, any of us, like, aside from maybe me, because, like, sometimes I'll be like, yeah, I want to see everybody, and sometimes I'll be like, no, I want to stay on my own. But if it were, like, a familial decision, like, we would sit at home on all holidays, not go anywhere, not do anything. We'd have people over at our house and just say, come by whenever and eat whenever and eat whatever.
Yeah.
Like, it would be super just casual.
Like a Golden Corral.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Like, we do that and be like, you just want to go to Golden Corral or something.
So gross.
But, yeah, that's what, like, that's just kind of our how we do holidays. And, like, I think that's just stemmed from, like, I've never talked about it on the podcast, but like, about, like, my brother and, like, how we gotta operate with him. And so it's just like, man, like, we don't want to go anywhere. Like, just, like, this isn't, it's just, like, aside from, again, like, Christmas and Easter, like, it's just another day. But, like, this, like, on Thanksgiving, I like having the people over. I like all the Thanksgiving food. But, like, Christmas, I'm like, let's wake up, let's all exchange gifts, and can we just hang out all day?
Yeah, just chill.
Yeah, but yeah, that's...
Something else I want to ask you about, relationship-wise.
Gosh.
Yeah, you weren't ready.
Yeah, I hope Emily doesn't get mad at the last answer, by the way, because they're the opposite. They're, like, super, like, familial, like, let's get the whole family together.
Oh, yeah, I know that about them for sure.
Yeah. It's just funny because, like, we're opposites.
Yeah.
So she's always like, let's spend family time together. I'm like, I want to sit in my room for 14 hours.
That's why you were a gamer. That's why that worked well for you. Did you know what she was signing up for?
So what's the second awkward question?
You mentioned that like you'll go over there and you fall asleep watching a movie or whatever. Do you feel awkward about that, being at the girlfriend's parents' house, and then you're just like passed out on the couch, like Elf is on and Mark's over there just drool coming down his face?
No, because they all do the same.
Okay.
Because her parents are like, her mom was giving me crap, like, so, because I'd actually never seen Christmas Vacation until last Thursday.
What?
Yeah. And so, I mean, I've seen clips here and there, like bits and pieces they'll show on TV, but I never like sat through the whole like, and they rented it so it was uncensored. Because it was funny, we like watched it, and then they were flipping through channels and it was on like TBS or something.
Yeah.
It's like, you just spent $4 on it. But, you know, no commercials. It's uncensored, which to me that's like a big, like that's the whole movie experience. We've talked about how we feel.
Oh, and that movie's way different, censored and uncensored. Like anyways, go ahead. Yeah.
So, her mom was like, how'd you like the movie, you know, the part you didn't sleep through? And I'm like, whoa, hold on. I was like, you were asleep longer than I was. Like, you were sleeping across the room. But no, it was...
Okay, so you fit in.
Yeah, and yeah, I feel so bad, and I hope she's probably not going to hear this part, but like, I remember you for some reason this stuck with me years ago that like, and I know Mandy hasn't listened this far, that like, you've got...
We're past the point. She's already turned it
I
off.
don't think anybody's listening to
Yeah.
that like, you've gotten to the point where like, at your in-laws, where like, you go there, and you plop down in the seat, you grab the remote, and like, you'll just hang out, right? Like, that's how I've gotten at Emily's house. Is like, I'm like, God.
That was a rapid ascent, though. Mine, I'm. Let's see, 18 years in.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
a little over 2 years in, and like, I'll walk in her house, like, say hi, everybody. Hey, what's going on? And they'll always have a movie on the TV, so I kind of use that as like my eyes glued at like a toddler, and then I'll just plop in the recliner. I won't pop open the recliner. I'm not. That's another year down the road. I'll just. Yes.
Just
Yeah.
hang the head back.
And I'll sit there and I'll hang the head back and they'll have like Harry Potter on or something and I'll just be watching Harry Potter and they'll be like, Mark, dinner's ready. I'm like, get up, go eat, go back to the
I bet there's a large part of Pam, if she's listening, she's like, I did not raise him to be this way.
Yeah.
So, okay, so to your point about the falling asleep thing, so I'm just now to the point when we would go see my in-laws, Mandy's parents, where, you know, I would sit down on the couch and then try not to make it too obvious because there's actually the way that their thing is set up, there's like a plant here, so I can kind of do one of these, like, you know, and because they're sitting back here and if they say something, yeah. But, you know, to their defense, actually, they've always been really good about, you know, if something's on TV, and I really don't care, but if something's on TV, they'll just hand me the remote, hey, switch it to whatever. But, yeah, now, if I don't like it, I'm changing it.
That's bold. It's now, see, I'm not at that stage yet, but by golly, I'll get there.
Yeah.
I want to get there.
Speaking of naps, Mandy did take a nap Thanksgiving evening. I didn't get my traditional Thanksgiving nap, so but she did. We were upstairs. I was helping Mom and Dad with their TV upstairs, and she was downstairs reading. Next thing I know, go downstairs, she's laid out on the couch, blanket over. So
Nice.
I was very proud of her because she's usually not one to do that. So
That's how she was so recharged to make the full spread.
make the full spread the next day. That's right. Tina is saying, what's with you, Mark? Not seeing these classic movies. Yes.
You know
Tina,
what?
the more that you hang out and spend time with Mark, the more you realize how sheltered he is. He has not seen a lot of great classic movies. What's the other one? What are some other ones that we're always dogging? You've never seen like Old School?
I've seen Old School.
Or Anchorman?
I love Anchorman. I was watching Anchorman when it came out in 2005. I was 8. I was watching Anchorman when I was 8 years old. And now
that now going back to all these stories, that explains a lot.
Yeah, like you can
You're the
my
Ron
mom for that one.
You're the Ron Burgundy of the Emily's household.
Yes.
Yeah.
So she would my mom would
Armageddon. Have you seen Armageddon?
No, I haven't seen Armageddon.
She just said that.
Yeah. My mom would like put Anchorman on and she'd be laughing and stuff. And we'd laugh at the funny parts, like the scene where like, and now it would probably get flagged by PETA, but like the scene where Jack Black kicks Baxter off the bridge, like that whole scene is so funny. But like,
oh yeah, well now I'm gonna do with this.
Yeah. He's like, what was his name? He's like, Roy Woods Jr. and Jack Johnson. Was the name of his fist. But it was,
Goonies?
like, we would always, no Goonies,
Okay.
we would always laugh at Anchorman. And my sister, I was 8, so my sister's 5 at the time watching Anchorman.
Jeez.
Yeah, it's so funny. But going back and watching it now, my mom's like, I cannot believe I let you watch this movie. But
60% of the time, it works every
yeah,
time.
every time.
Justin Scott loves to quote Anchorman.
Oh, it's so good.
So I remember the first movie that's similar to that. I mean, not at that level, but where I know my dad doesn't listen. My mom's probably listening, so she'll probably remember the story, and my dad will get in trouble again. But Terminator 2 came out in like 90. Let's see, it would have been like 92 or something like that. So yeah, because I was 8, and I remember my mom clearly telling my dad, "You're not taking him to see that." So what he did was found out that our next door neighbor had bought it like on HBO, and we snuck over there and watched it, and it was amazing. But yeah, so that was like the first movie where I was like, I knew I was young. I probably was not supposed to be watching it, but Dad was with me, and it was a cool moment. So yeah, Terminator 2 was like that one for
That's
me that I remember.
I got a qualm, okay? I'm mad.
Surprise.
Yeah, I'm mad, and I'm gonna say some stuff. These movies came out in the 80s and the 90s, right? So we're gonna go through all of this again, and probably, you know what? We'll probably start seeing in the next 2 or 3 years, and more so in the next like 10 to 12 years, where we're gonna run into kids that haven't seen Elf, haven't
Yes.
seen Anchorman,
Right.
haven't seen, like, I would say even old, because I haven't seen Old School, like, that's just how things work. So like I always say these movies, no, listen, I always say these movies where it's like, listen, I got this many hours in a day, and there are this many movies I haven't seen, and this many movies I want to see, and listen, wants and needs, I'm
But
gonna put the
that
wants
is
first.
where somebody else like myself or your parents or Bartley at the Chapman Theater pulls you aside and says you were watching this movie. So it is up to the older generation to put you in front of these movies to see them.
So why then?
Why do you
That's a
get
good
the
argument.
crap for
Why
it?
do I get the crap for it if it's up to you?
Well, because I'm not going to make fun of myself.
It's funny, another movie I had just seen.
She said Little Justin has watched Goonies. And
Well,
yes,
it's
Tina,
'cause Tina loves
I
Goonies.
still refer to him as Little Justin. He'll always be Little Justin to me, but Justin.
That's because Tina loved Goonies. I'm sure if my parents love Goonies, or if you love Goonies, or if Bart loved Goonies.
I've seen the
it's
Goonies.
Do you love Goonies?
No, I've seen it.
Because
I
it's
think
not
it's a good
good.
movie. It's a good movie, but it's not like, to me, it's not like a, there wasn't like a teenage like
Yeah.
moment. American Pie. Have you seen American Pie?
You know, I just saw last
That's it.
week for the first
That's
time.
it, guys. We'll see you later.
I just saw Gladiator for the first time last
That was
week.
on last night.
Yeah, Gladiator it was pretty good.
Amazing.
And I'm a Joaquin Phoenix fan, so it was cool like seeing him 20 years ago because I like Joker.
He's
And
terrible.
I like Joker. Really?
I hate him in that movie.
Oh.
Like I hate his character.
Oh yeah, he's bad, man. Not Michael Jackson bad. Like he's evil.
I see what you're saying.
All right, those are our Thanksgivings.
All right.
This rabbit hole is 48 minutes long, and we are down it, man.
It's all right.
So you put a question in close to the beginning of the podcast, and I just put my hoodie on because I'm cold. We were talking about the workout that's running today, and it's a little chilly out, so it's like in the 40s today, which I'm pretty sure people, like we have listeners in Canada, we have listeners in Colorado, we have listeners all around. Those people would be laughing at us if they're like, wow, right now you get to work out in 38 and 48 degree weather. Yeah, but it's cold enough, so get over it. So the question was, how does temperature affect our workouts? So we could go as far as like, I'm sure it's all relative.
Mm-hmm.
So how does it affect us, us being in 38 or 48 degree weather when we're used to 80 or 90 degree weather? How does it affect being in 10 or 20 degree weather? We could just talk about that. And then what really is better, working out in the heat or the cold. So you're up.
So how does temperature affect our workouts? Well, the first way is that when you have a big, like 24-hour temperature change like we're experiencing here, it's just another stress on the body, right? So there's that just like basic biological, stressor additional to everything else that is going on. So there is that. Like when you go from, let's just stay within Florida, you go from working out in pretty warm, or hot conditions to something cold like this. I mean, excuse me, I'm still feeling the after effects. Like my lungs just feel like they're just burned cold from being out and taking in so much oxygen that is at a severely colder temperature. The other thing is we're used to being in like 100% humidity all the time, and when it's cold out, the humidity is way down, so the air is a lot drier. Yeah. So there's that consideration too. What does that mean? It just means that things are a little bit more difficult. There do need to be considerations, like from a coaching perspective, making sure that you take a little bit more time within the general warm-up, because remember, that's where we're trying to get blood circulating, get a little perspiration going. And so when the body is cold, what happens internally, like physiologically, is all the blood, you don't get a lot of vasodilation, right? So you're not, normally I've got a lot of veins that just, stick out all the time, but whenever it's chilly out, I mean, everything kind of goes away from the surface and kind of goes internal. So,
Why?
Then, what's that?
Why?
It's a good question. One, so that the body can just keep the blood can keep the body warmer, and the body is really concerned with our internal super important organs like our heart, our lungs, basically everything in your chest cavity, keeping that stuff in really good shape. So the blood has a tendency to get away from the surface versus, whenever it's hot out, you see like everyone just has a bunch of veins sticking out, and you could see, the blood pumping and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. So that's a way for the body to cool itself. So how does temperature affect our workouts? If it's gradual, you probably won't notice much of a change. But when we have that cold snap like we were talking about, it's going to burn the lungs a little bit more. You're going to want to spend a little bit more time deliberately just getting generally warm, things like that. And then when you go from it being cold to, hot, the opposite is kind of true. So you want to pay attention to hydration in both cases, because whenever you're in the cold weather, you can become dehydrated, pretty quickly without realizing it. Whereas people know that they should be hydrating in hot weather, but a lot of times they're not actually taking the time to do that. So hot weather, one of the big considerations is heat exhaustion or heat stroke, So if you get to the point where you were sweating profusely and you stop, that's like, we probably need to make a beeline for the emergency room, right. Because you're in, a pretty critical condition. So if it's gradual, probably not going to notice a whole lot of change or effect in the workout. But if it's sudden, things are going to be harder, for sure.
On both ends?
Both ends, for sure. Yeah.
It's almost like when you come back from the cold into the heat, now you just feel heavy, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, because you got the humidity, so
Yeah.
there's literally more moisture in the air, there's more particles of water in the air.
But we see that a lot with people that are visiting, if they're visiting from somewhere that's cold and they come down in August or even October, it's still 90-some degrees, and we send them even for the warm-up lap around the building. It's like, holy cow, that worked me over. And it's the heat, but it's also the humidity. That is probably to me, the single biggest factor in like a decline in performance is humidity. Case in point, I remember when Jay was getting ready for the 2016 games, when we were out there talking to all the athletes that are not from Florida, they struggled with the heat a lot. Mm-hmm. I mean, you remember it was warm, but nothing compared to like what we're used to here. And so when I was talking to him, he's like, this is way better than the conditions that we train in every day, So the temperature might be relatively similar, but with way less humidity, it is far easier to actually get the output from your body that it should.
I remember being out there, it would be about the same temperature, so it would be anywhere from during the day to like 95 to like 102 degrees or something like that, but it was, again, little to no humidity, so It was just like, it was just hot. Like it was just like you just feel like you're cooking. I always like to say it. You felt like you were like cooking.
Yes, like you're in an oven.
Rather than marinating.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
So, yeah, so we're like here. It feels like you're soaked and you're marinating, but yeah, it was like because you saw a lot of people like doing this, and I mean I'm not gonna lie, like it was hot and you're sweating and you get a nice tan or maybe a sunburn, but it's. Like you said, it's not really anywhere near what it's like here. And I'm not complaining what it's like here because I prefer for it to be like it is here because I feel like it's just easier to, with all that moisture, it just helps you breathe.
Right.
Train a little bit better, train that system a little bit better. But this is kind of interesting, kind of a side note is there's this movie with Jeremy Renner and Elizabeth Olsen, not very popular. It was called Wind River. Did you ever see it?
I have not.
It was pretty good. And
not a classic, so I haven't seen it.
Yeah. So it was pretty good. It came out a couple of years ago. And long story short, there was this part.
Real quick, sorry to interrupt. Jeremy Renner, he's the one that played in the terrible one-off Bourne movie.
Yes.
Okay.
He's Hawkeye.
Yeah.
And then Elizabeth Olsen is Scarlet Witch. So
yes.
Two Avengers.
Yes.
But yeah, he was, and I never saw that movie.
Yeah, don't waste your time.
Yeah, her really not good. But there's this part in the movie where, like, they're chasing a murderer, and the murderer ended up, like, having this other character killed by, they lived in, like, Alaska or, like, Canada or something, and so it was really cold and really dry, and they basically just had her run until... like the moisture from her breathing in, like froze in her lungs, and like that's how. So then, are you gonna see the movie?
No.
At the end, they catch him, and Jeremy Renner has him do the same thing. So like has him go and run until that moisture, and so that always stuck with me in a training sense.
Right.
Bringing it around circle real quick.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, wow, it's like. So they had him run until his lungs literally froze from the moisture coming in. Now there wasn't a lot of humidity, but the moisture coming in. I'm like, that's always important to keep in mind. Like if we lived anywhere where the temperature was under freezing, so like under 32 degrees, I probably would never program running during the winter because of that. Now the chances of that happening in 20-degree weather versus they were like under 20,
right,
like super low, but for some reason that always stuck with me, and it just shows how much climate really does impact what we're doing.
Yeah.
Climate and weather.
Yeah, I know that this isn't directly like related to temperature, but it is worth talking about because I remember experiencing this when we were out in Colorado. Obviously it's cold, but elevation plays a big role in this too,
Yeah.
So not only, when you're out there skiing, it's like, okay, you go out there with like this base of fitness that you have, but okay, now it's cold and you're used to being in 95-degree, 100% humidity. So it's like, all right, there's 3 deductions off of your fitness.
Right.
And then, oh, by the way, you're also at 12,000 feet. Okay, there's 7 deductions. So, I mean, you have to be mindful of the environment that you're in compared to the environment that you've been kind of training in. And to take it back to, what we said about going out to the games in 2016 with Jay, thankfully it was really warm where we trained with a lot of humidity, and it was just really warm with basically no humidity when we were out there.
Yeah.
Madison was a different story. There was a couple of, cold days, but it was never colder than anything that we experienced, down in Florida.
Right.
So, yeah, it's, that is a really important consideration because, today's workout, I was saying earlier that I could still feel it, and I can, but it was only 13 minutes long in total, but we weren't outside for all 13 minutes. And even if we were, nothing's going to happen in that 13 minutes, right?
Yeah.
So there, but I do think that that's good that you have that consideration for, all right, well, would I ever program, a marathon run, when it's 20 degrees, probably not.
Yeah. I've never programmed that anyway, so you guys don't have to worry about that. Unless we do the 25 reps of fitness and we get run 1 mile. So we mentioned elevation. Let's get into that a little bit, just while we're on the topic of like climate and kind of physiological responses, because I know that's been asked to me before in here, and this wasn't really planned, so kind of off the cuff. But are there benefits to training at elevation and then coming back to your normal elevation?
Well, I mean, from a sport performance background, yeah, you get a little bit of ancillary, extra oxygen uptake when you come back down to closer to sea level. So if like you go and train in Colorado for a couple of months and then come back here, you're gonna feel a little bit better. But that's if you're looking for like the last 0.1% performance for an Olympic competitor.
Right.
Maybe that's you've turned over all the other stones, and then it's okay, I've got this last one that we haven't tried to squeeze the juice out of, and so that's what I would go to. What you can really feel for just general population is the reverse of that. Like I was just saying, if you're used to being here at sea level and then you go somewhere, and it doesn't even have to be in Colorado, like when we're in the mountains of North Carolina, just a couple of 1,000 feet elevation, I mean, you can feel it. If you start to do something that is a little bit up the aerobic capacity end, like it comes on fast. And the description that I like to give to people is you just run out of breath way quicker than you think that you would normally. Mm-hmm. Like it just creeps up on you. You're kind of doing your thing. You're like, wait, what's going on? Why am I breathing? Like I shouldn't be at this for what I'm based upon what I'm doing. So, and I mean, the science around it is it's just less oxygen available for your body to take in. So right. It's just the air is thinner, and that's what happens.
The way I always understood it is exactly what you said, is that you could go train at higher elevation, but one, the difference is probably going to be negligible.
Right.
For 99.99999% of people. And even for that 0.00001% that it won't be negligible for, the effect is not very long lasting. Yeah. So it might be like the first couple minutes of a workout, right, or the first workout back. Yeah. So it's not saying like, because I know cyclists would go, and a lot of research was done with cyclists because the long duration athletes, and so I could get this wrong, I really hope I don't butcher this, but it would be along the lines of them doing blood doping, because like so if they got their oxygen levels tested at elevation and then they came back, it would look similar to as if they were doing blood doping, mm-hmm, but very, very, very briefly. Yeah. To where it's like if any sort of time passed, it wouldn't read like that anymore. And that's just because if you want to know the science behind that, it's hemoglobin and all that. It's not incredibly important, but so training at elevation doesn't really. Yeah,
and the I don't want to say the risk reward, but the cost of it. It's not like you go out west for a couple of days. It's a few weeks to a few months of training.
For that much, and a very small figure.
Exactly.
I just made.
Right. So if you're a professional athlete and you get paid to perform, maybe you can afford it. Maybe you get a sponsorship to do that. For me, I'm not doing that. It's just, number one, it's just not, cost effective. And number two, even if it was, like, what am I going to do it for? You know? Yeah.
So I'm going to drop another bomb. I'm going to jump on another grenade. That makes those training masks, those oxygen masks, extremely stupid investments.
Yeah, everyone's always trying to shortcut or to sell something. So we're either trying to shortcut the path to the goal that somebody wants to achieve. I want to lose fat, I want to increase my oxygen uptake, so we're going to take this shortcut, fast track route to do so. Or I'm trying to sell you on something. Oh, you should buy this because... No. And so there's a couple of things. Number one, those things are stupid, but they're stupid because they don't work, and they're also stupid because the effect that they are selling you on of, it's just like training at elevation, it's not. That's actually not what it's doing. what it's training you to do is to work with a constricted airflow versus a lack of oxygen in the atmosphere.
Wow.
Two completely different. One's a physiological process, and one is training you as if you were getting choked out. Like, you're training for two different things. And, by the way, it actually doesn't have any positive adaptation.
And those are, we're talking the, like, Bane-looking masks
Yeah,
that are, like, constructed to do that. When
Right.
It's like,
Yeah. Now, you may see people that are wearing like a mask with a hose coming out of it, and those are, people are testing their oxygen uptake, like VO2 max, and that is just a testing apparatus that you use in a laboratory setting, but it's not used for training.
Have you ever done it?
I have, and it is miserable.
Oh, you don't like it?
No.
Oh, man.
I thought I was going to hyperventilate.
Just like, did you not like?
Yeah, I couldn't take it.
Dude, I loved it.
Yeah.
I think I've done it like 2 or 3 times. I loved it.
Yeah.
It was so cool to me, like watching like my respiratory rate on the screen and my I'm gonna get it wrong, the volume of breath. I don't remember what the metric is, but man, it was
Is that tidal volume?
Yeah, tidal volume.
Yeah.
Seeing that on the just seeing that it could measure that was so cool, and yeah, that was a lot of fun. We did like, I think I did the running one twice, and then have you ever done the walking VO2 max test?
Yeah, where they take the treadmill up.
So hard.
It sounds silly, and everyone thinks it's like, oh, I'm just walking up this treadmill, and it is legit like the feeling of a death by workout.
Yeah.
Where it's like I'm just kind of cruising, and then I just get sideswiped, and you go from being just fine to crippled, like that.
Yes. So like when you're doing the running one, it feels like you blink, and like you take it from a jog, and just like in a death by, you blink, and like you're like Terminator running.
Yes.
And then with the walk, it's the same thing. Like you're walking a little bit of a grade, and then all of a sudden, like you flash forward like however many minutes, 8 or 9 minutes, and you're like, oh, dude.
It's
awesome.
bad.
It's
Yeah.
awesome.
It was really cool. I liked it. I didn't like the thing on my face, but I'm just like you. I liked seeing all the readouts and just seeing where I was. I'm sure that I had my printout sheet somewhere because I remember getting my VO2 max done. I know it wasn't all that impressive, but yeah, it was a really cool experience. I did get to spend a lot of time in college in the exercise physiology lab, so I get to put a ton of people through it and all that kind of stuff. So I had one thing to say before we close.
Okay.
So I don't know if you're just listening, you won't see this, but if you are watching, you see that I've got a new shirt on today. You know,
I have mine.
and it says. Wait, hold on. Turn it this way. So it says "Coach" on the back.
Because you're a coach.
Because I'm a coach.
Okay.
It also has 3 other words that go along with it. Do you remember what they are?
Patient, curious, consistent.
Okay. So
Would I have been fired if I didn't remember that?
yeah, you're out. So we're not gonna dive into it, but for those that are still listening, or maybe just catch this one little thing, what I want you guys to do is when you see a coach wearing this shirt, I want you to ask them what those words mean and why they're on the back of our coach shirts. And then I do think that there is another lingering important question out there is, why am I wearing a coach shirt?
Why are you wearing a coach shirt?
Yes.
Well, you're a coach.
Yes,
But why are you? Why are you wearing it, Josh?
because I think that I will be returning to coaching
Whoa!
in person
And
in
you know
the
what?
gym.
You know what? If people made it an hour and 8 or 9 minutes to hear that, they're gonna be like, I gotta listen to every episode.
It was worth it now.
Yeah.
See, you get these knowledge bombs dropped. Oh, Tina says get ready. See, I can count on Tina. She's the faithful. You know, I don't know if anyone else is watching still or listening, but thank you, Tina.
So Josh might be making a return.
I will. And it'll be a surprise, though.
I just wish they could see the whiteboard. Right?
Yeah, there's a lot of good stuff going on that whiteboard. So yeah, so that we can't close with this. The coach thing is a big one, but we do have some really cool stuff on the horizon for the gym in 2021. There are only 29 days left in December.
Crazy.
So 2020 will be gone. Have you ever thought about, as an aside, what the history books will say about the year 2020 in like 15 years?
Yeah, I like see that a lot of like, especially now with the election just ending, you know, people like draw caricatures of like Biden and Trump and like, so I always think like, man, those are going to be used in like AP US history exams, or like, you know, those are going to end up on like an AP exam.
Yeah, one of the questions will be, what was it that crippled the U.S. economy and shut things down around the world for 8+ months? What was the name of the virus?
Yeah, they're going to be like Dingo 20.
Yeah.
COVID-19.
Coronavirus.
The coronavirus.
That is wild to me.
I just think, yeah, so like all these different things that happened this year, like, I mean, this feels like a lifetime ago. It's funny how fast the year can feel, but how long January really felt like it was. Does that kind of make sense?
Yes.
So like a year feels so fast because it's like, man, it was just March. Like we were just out of our physical location. Now we've been back in for so long, right? But also think about like Kobe died in January. Kobe died almost a year ago.
Wild.
Yeah.
Wild.
And then all the Australian fires were almost a year ago. Like, I remember a year ago I think it was December, seeing videos from China of hospitals dealing with this. Like, it's
crazy.
A long time so far.
Yeah.
It's really incredible the way that kind of works. But yeah, it does make you question what are history books and websites and articles, how will they talk about it? Almost like 9/11, you know? It's like how will they talk about the year 2020 in 2040?
Yeah.
Or 2035, you know?
Crazy. But yeah, we do have some cool things on the horizon. Can't wait to shed some more light on that. But on that bombshell, it's time to end.
And don't ask because we can't tell you yet.
Yeah.
But
not yet. We will, but not yet.
Yeah, we will. Don't worry, it's coming up. But
well, thank you for your time today.
Hey, thank you, Josh. That was a fun one. We kind of, you know, we went off the rails, but that's what was cool about it.
That's good.
So, thank you guys for listening. 5-star written review if you have not already. That can be on iTunes. You can listen to us on iTunes, Buzzsprout, or